Well, hey, Raja and Daniel, and so far here from the State Board of Elections, we have no news, which is good news. Well, hey, Daniel and Raja, and there were plenty of applauses from Democrats, and at times even Republicans, although at times it did get pretty tense in the chamber. Simply put, the statewide tax is going to go away, but cities and counties could reinstitute the tax themselves individually. So if they do, obviously, you'll just be paying the same 1% grocery tax. They feel optimistic. This was earlier in the night. They said over the past few days he visited all 14 counties in the district and got warm receptions in all of them. In fact, in one of the counties that's mostly in right now, McDonough County, home of Macomb, he flipped it. It voted for him this time after voting against him last time. So that's an indication of just hard data of where they feel they are.
For the 6th consecutive year, I introduced and the legislature passed a balanced budget that invests in our future while putting money back in the hands of hardworking Illinoisans.
To balance the budget he signed into law Wednesday, Pritzker asked lawmakers to raise revenues in his February budget proposal. They obliged, passing a bill that included tax increases on sports wagering and video gaming terminals while capping the retailer's sales tax discount.
While this budget is undeniably complicated, the message the governor is sending with it could not be more clear. He's raising taxes on the people of Illinois who are already struggling to afford basic needs and the many job creators fighting hard to keep people employed.
I don't consider large companies that aren't based in Illinois, many of which that make a lot of money off of internet gaming as the same as a working family.
Deputy Governor Andy Menard was one of Governor Pritzker's lead budget negotiators. He says the tax increases are designed not to hit working families. In fact, he and Pritzker say many families and small businesses may see a tax cut. The state created the first child tax credit and increased the standard deduction.
That's a major step forward and will help working families on the tax front.
Small businesses will see one of the biggest changes. The state did extend the cap on the corporate net operating loss deduction. It was also raised from $100,000 to $500,000.
By taking that number up significantly, we can extend that piece of the tax code for a number of years, while at the same time driving benefit to businesses in Illinois that are small and medium sized.
In total, the tax package is expected to raise about $750 million in revenue, a key to balancing the budget.
There's a lot of grandstanding, there's a lot of fear mongering, but we should go back to the governor's demand is a balanced budget that invests in the things that the people of the state want and is gimmick free, and that's what this budget has accomplished.
In Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News.
We together have met this moment that we are in. Do not let the doom grifters steal your optimism about what's ahead for Illinois. Our future is bright and opportunity lies ahead.
The next step in cementing that future? The fiscal year 25 budget.
Our FY25 budget proposal makes some hard choices. I wish we had big surpluses to work with this year to take on every one of the very real challenges that we face. It's important to note that while this budget is tight this year, our fiscal house is in order.
Despite facing tough decisions, Governor Pritzker's asking lawmakers to pass the largest budget in state history at more than $52 billion. It includes more money for education, particularly early childhood, in which the governor is looking to add 5,000 more publicly funded preschool seats through the Smart Start initiative. He also hopes to reduce homelessness, and he's asking lawmakers to spend more than $10 billion on pension liabilities and to start requiring the state be on pace to cover its entire pension obligation by 2045, as opposed to the current 90% goal. This was welcome news to the state's comptroller, Susana Mendoza. She called the governor's proposed budget responsible and disciplined.
So it is a year in which I was really looking to see a holding of the line, really no new non-essential spending, and a very targeted approach to maintaining fiscal stability and fiscal discipline. He checked every single box.
Republicans were less enthusiastic.
It is the worst budget speech I've ever heard, and I've heard many.
Topping the list of frustrations for State Senator Jill Tracy, migrant crisis spending, as the governor is asking for an additional $182 million to combat the crisis. and Governor Pritzker's proposal increasing tax revenues by more than $800 million. It includes raising the sports betting tax from 15% to 35%, increasing the cap on the corporate net operating loss deduction to $500,000, and capping the sales tax retailers discount.
We have tax on tax on tax, and now the governor wants to raise another $1 billion in increasing taxes, and it's going to come eventually on Illinois taxpayers.
Overall, Republicans are calling on Governor Pritzker and Democratic lawmakers to prioritize spending on Illinois residents without raising taxes.
He killed her so senselessly. It was senseless on every level.
That was civil rights attorney Ben Crump's reaction to what he saw on the body cam video from the July 6th officer-involved fatal shooting of Sonia Massey. It happened after she called deputies to her Springfield home reporting a suspected prowler. When deputies arrived, she was boiling water. Once inside her home, they asked Massey for her ID and eventually to turn off the stove. After taking the pot off the stove, she tells the deputies she rebukes them in the name of Jesus. Grayson responds by saying, after ordering her to drop the pot, Massey then puts it down. Grayson then walks towards her with his gun drawn, and she goes to pick it back up. He then shoots her in the face.
There's a narration to the tragedy. I mean, he narrates that I'm going to shoot you in the face, and then he shoots her in the face.
After the shooting, Grayson tells the other deputy not to bother getting his medical kit, saying that's a headshot, she's done. Grayson eventually went to get his medical kit while the other deputy attempted to render life-saving aid. Last week, a grand jury indicted Grayson on first-degree murder charges. The sheriff's office has since fired him. Crump says it's a good first step, but for the Massey family, they won't rest until they get what Crump calls full justice.
You always get the same thing, these platitudes from people. You know you have my prayers and my sympathy. But you know what I want? I want justice for my baby.
Wilburn also called on Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell to resign. In Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News. Hanukkah is always a celebration, but this year comes at a precarious time for Jews around the world as they're dealing with a rise in anti-Semitism. That was top of mind for Governor Pritzker Thursday as he joined Jewish leaders to celebrate the Jewish Festival of Lights.
I could spend all of our time together today talking about our community's grief, our sorrow, our fear. It's at the forefront of all of our minds. I will not focus on that other than to say this. Hate is evil.
Rabbi Mendy Turin says he's been lucky to not encounter a lot of hate in Springfield. However, it's still a frightening time, though he tries to keep a positive outlook.
There's a few tips to that. One, look a little less, follow a little less closely the negativity, and try to stay focused on following the positivity. But it is frightening and it is scary.
Both Turin and the governor agree on something else as they deal with the rise of anti-Jewish hate. They're both proud of their heritage and religion.
I'm proud of being Jewish and to share my heritage with the people of our state during Hanukkah, an honor and a privilege that my ancestors who escaped anti-Semitic terror in Ukraine could never have imagined.
The reason we feel more proud is because whenever there's any sort of oppression, any sort of negativity, the response that we like to take is to be prouder, to be more excited, to be more involved.
Turin adds he wants to see peace for all of us. He encourages everyone to do their small part to help achieve that goal. In Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News.